Hi everybody, welcome to ArtDay. Happy Monday, folks. It's November, it's time for a new random act of kindness shipment. The city that I'm going to send things to will start with a K. So if you're new to the channel or to this show and haven't seen anything about my random act of kindness project yet, here's how it goes. Every month I send 5 cards to a city in Germany, and I'm just going down the alphabet. So this time around I'm at the letter K, and I'm going to choose a city and pick 5 public offices where I'm going to send 1 card to each. Addressing it to the, to just the public office, so whomever opens it first is the recipient of my random act of kindness, and each month I have a different theme that I'm working with, and as you can maybe, if you are a board gamer, as you can see here, this month the theme is board games. So Spiel just ended. It's actually the Monday after Spiel, so 30th of October that I'm filming this. And we bought lots and lots of board games, and this Saturday before this video goes live, I published a Talk O'Clock video that has all the unboxing of all the games that we got. So I am a board gamer at heart. I really like spending time with people offline and play board games, and I think it has a lot of value, and yeah, I think it is a nice topic to go with. So I also decided, well, in every card there's going to be a letter in there. I'm not going to write into the card base thing here directly, but I leave the cards to be reusable by the recipient if they like. So I'm putting a letter inside, and there I will also talk about board games and such. So, and yeah, say something like, well, maybe you will, maybe you want to find a group or something, so here's a few tips, or here's a game that is a really nice starter game if you're not a gamer, and if you feel like it, get a group of people together and play. So I'm going to choose a very fun and simple beginner's getaway game to suggest in the card, so, or in the letter. And yeah, anyway, it's all about board games today. By the way, if you're new and you don't know me, my name is Sarah. I'm the artist behind Pinselgeschichten. This is my channel, and I'm, well, just talking out what I'm going to do here. I'm going to show you what I do, what my creative mind comes up with. And I will have a blog post published today as well on my webpage. It's in the description box below, where you can see a list of all the supplies that I'm going to use. If you want to remember, if you see something where you say, you don't have to write things down, it's all going to be there. There's going to be close-up photos. And for this particular post here, there's also going to be the offices that I'm going to send this to, because I haven't decided the offices yet and the city yet at the point that I'm filming. Now, a lot of talk and nothing done here. Let's talk art. So for this month, I chose colored envelopes. I do have a big stash of envelopes and card bases that are pre-cut and everything. These are just standard European sized cards that come with an envelope, but I don't have 5 green, 5 red, 5 whatever card color anymore. I just have gold, silver, and black, and I didn't feel for didn't feel like using those colors for this month. For December I will probably use the silver or the the gold or maybe the black. So I will have all the same colors, but I just took white card bases and all the yellows that I have, because I really like yellow. I don't have any orange anymore in my stash, so yellow is the next best thing. And some gray ones, because I think they really go nicely with the yellow. So while I'm working on them, I also like to look at them. But I'm gonna put the envelopes aside, because I only will decorate very well, simply, I think is the word I'm looking for. I'm gonna work on the card bases. I'm not gonna have greeting or anything on top, just board game pieces. And by board game pieces, I mean that there are lots of board games where you have sheets of cardstock being delivered and you punch out things that you need as game components. For example, such as these wheels here, they are from the game RAoK. I have them in the studio because we got the deluxe version that has wooden pieces, so we don't need those anymore. I can do artwork with them. And then there is certain shapes, like this round one here, for example. It comes from a game called Norgia, I think it was. It's a very new game. We bought it this year. So there was a clock around us, and this is just the inner part that we don't need for gaming. So I take those game pieces or cardboard punch pieces, and I'm using those to do artwork, as well as, and I have to reach behind me, sometimes I take the sheets of the punchy things as well, because they make for a nice stencil. I'm not going to work with the stencils today, however. I just work with these shapes. And this is from Favor for the Pharaoh, or of the Pharaoh? Favor for the Pharaoh, I think it is. RAoK, Catacombs, and I think it's called Norgia or Nogia, something like that. Again, very new game. We just bought it. What I'm going to do, I'm just going to decorate the card bases. And for that, I would usually use like a super glue, but to hold these pieces down really fast, you just need a tiny drop and all is good. But the problem is that sometimes the glue doesn't want to stick because this has kind of like a finish on top. Don't know if you can see that it is reflecting. So I think it's gonna work best with just some white craft glue. I just can have a tiny dot at the back. And there we go. So I'm going to use that, and I already had things designed and sorted out. So this is one design, for example. I'm just going to glue this down, and then I'm going to put it onto the desk next to me to let it dry. And I can move on to the art cards that I'm going to send with the greeting card things. So I like to work assembly style with these kinds of projects. And I like to do the greeting cards first because usually they are less messy. So I will work with matte medium in a minute as a glue for the pieces on the art cards, and that stays not only on my fingers for a long time, it also stays on this wooden piece, this wooden sheet here a long time, and then I transfer it to the cards and such. So not a big fan. So I like to have my greeting cards done first. And I put a piece of paper underneath as well, just because the wooden sheet here is getting kind of, well, maybe not so clean anymore. It's getting kind of messy. So I just want to protect my white card base, where you can see pretty much every pigment on it. If I transfer something, you will be able to see it. So just to make sure that this doesn't happen, I thought I'm gonna use a piece of paper, and very soon I will have to maybe have, I don't know, a craft mat or something for the card making. I don't know. I will have to come up with something very clean for these card bases when I work on greeting cards. Like so. So just glued these 5, and these are very simple patterns that are, well, of a very clean design. So nothing super busy, super fancy. So for example, I want to do something like this on this card base here and just have all the wheels. There we go. Just a little dot of this white glue is absolutely enough, and this is just a standard craft glue in Germany, nothing fancy. You can get it at pretty much every grocery store or supermarket that sells office supplies or school supplies, and I think it does a wonderful job of holding cardboard pieces to cardstock. So there's that, number 3. And now I'm going to have to color coordinate. For one, I decided to have the blue things, and for one there was the green things. This looks almost retro with the colors. And these circle shapes, but sometimes I really like these very simple, abstract, retro looking designs, and I'm not keeping every sheet of cardboard from the board games after I've done all the punching, but if I have a nice shape, a nice color, or a nice pattern, I'm definitely taking them to the studio and reusing them in artwork. I think that is something cool to do. So do I want to go lighter? Yeah, maybe that's not a bad thing to do. Now these can dry next to me, and I can move on to the messy things, which is, hold on, I gotta clean my desk. The art cards. So I'm having, this is also a board game piece. So these are the divider sheets that came with the Dice Master booster packs. So these are Marvel Dice Master booster packs. There was a character card and 2 dice, and this one pretty much separated the 2 in the booster pack. And I really like the size of them, and I have hundreds of them. I use them a lot for the Tiny Tuesdays, and I really like to use them for art cards. They have a nice size. These are 7 by 9 centimeters. So I'm taking 5 of those, and here are pictures of board game things. They all come from a calendar from Scott King, and I cut one up to use these pieces. And what I want to use is the wooden pieces and the dice, the blue dice, and make a scenery of something on each of the art cards. So with the submarines here, for example, I could use those and have one of the dice be a boy. In Germany, the word for the thing that I want to say is Boje. And you can see on the lower screen that I might have inserted the English word just to make sure that I don't mispronounce, but I think it's a boy. So here's the boat, another boat. I do have way more pictures of the board game calendar that I could use. Like I do have the clock of elder signs, for example, or I cut the camels of Camel Cup from a magazine, but they were just too big for these cards here, so I just went with the very simple images of these wooden meeple pieces here, and the submarines and the dice. Also, I think when somebody says board game, I think people that are not gamers do think of dice or cards maybe, but I think dice is the first thing you think of because cards are more like card games. We do have a different word for that. So I think dice is a nice thing to use. At least I hope so. So there's the worker. This is the submarines, and also this piece here and the octopod here are game component pieces from a Stefan Feld game, and it's called Aquasphere. It's one of the more involved advanced player kind of worker placement game. So nothing for you, the first time ever trying a board game, but yeah, I really liked to play it, though it is very brain melty, so I can only play one round of that game a night, otherwise I'm just, yeah, not functioning. I would be a puddle of melty brain matter. It's really involved and quite exhausting to play this game, but also very rewarding when you have a nice score at the end. So I only have 4 pieces to work with, 4 meeple pieces here, that is the 4 wooden things, but I have 5 cards, so I decided that I would go with the red die from Elder Sign as the 5th piece. What I want to do is I want to have contrast with these blue dice here. And if you count the blue dice, there's 6 of them, and I have 5 cards. So one of the cards will have 2 blue dice and this red one here, just to have nice contrast. This one goes back into the stash. This one looks like Numenera or Pathfinder, maybe? Proficiency. It's definitely an RPG game. And RPG means role-playing game. It's a pen and paper game. This calendar piece here that I'm using is nice heavy cardstock, so it will definitely sit on top of my art card. It will not bind with this cardstock like, say, napkin wood or very thin, kind of like deli paper. This one sits on top, so I have to make sure that I build a nice scene around it. Usually when I do these collage things, I do not cut out pieces, but I rip them so that the edge isn't as harsh as it is here, but you kind of have something like this going on. This is way more blendable than this is, but it is quite difficult to rip this cardstock and not have anything go wrong. Ripping pieces that I actually need or something, so I'm cutting them and make it maybe a bit more difficult on myself to blend them in. But I make sure that I don't have just weird shapes, but I have the shapes that I want. And I can get around blending these collage bits in by making them actually the focal point of my scenery. So then I want them to stand out, which means I don't want to have the pieces blend in. I don't have to work on blending them in with acrylic paint, for example. So I definitely will create sceneries where they are the focal point. And I, for example, with the submarines, I just paint in the ocean, you know. This is how I like to get around problems, like ripping cardstock and having everything blended together well. So this is the last die, and then I can work on building my sceneries. And I like to do that, of course, before I commit and glue everything down. So I will play with my 5 art cards and see what I want to have where. So let's start with the easy ones, the boat. So this one goes like this, and this one goes like this. And I need this looks like a boy or a pyramid. I want these with this one maybe. You go here, you go here. He could stand on something. No, these are almost too small, these cards. But I can't really go any bigger. This is like the moon in the sky and he's looking at it, maybe? That would mean this is boy number 2. And you, my friend, got the Oscars. Maybe I have to cut this part. Yeah, definitely have to. This is too tall, but if I make him stand like this, or just let him look at the moon, and he is, maybe he's doing something like this. He wants to octopod onto the die. I actually like this. So yeah, this is the placement, and what I'm going to do now is I'm going to glue this down. And that means that I need paper towels. And I'm using golden fluid matte medium to glue things, because it takes away the shine of the collage pieces. And sometimes when I do use different papers from different magazines and books and calendars and such, some of them have a shine, some of them are matte, and then it looks weird if I don't get rid of the shine of all of those pieces. So I like to de-shine, and yes, that's a word, I just made it one. Like to de-shine, de-gloss, all of the collage pieces. So I do, well, you can't really see it, so let me bring it in. Off the side I do have this glass of gluey water where I keep my 2 glue brushes in water all the time, so a big one and a small one, and I just dried off all of the water, and now I can glue things. And the way to collage is dipping my brush into the glue, going all over it, and then going over the back, placing this, going over the back of the submarine as well. And then going over the top of everything. And this is the point where I definitely have lots of glue, matte medium on my fingers, and everything looks kind of nasty afterwards. That's why I like to have my greeting cards taken care of before I do this part of the process. Do. And like this. Doesn't want to stay, so let me get more glue and make it stay. That's the disadvantage of very thick cardstock to glue. It sometimes has a bit of trouble to bind, but usually it will comply at one point if you apply enough pressure. If not, I do have other glues that can help along. And I will apply heat in a minute, so we'll bring in my blow dryer to dry things off. Put down some pressure. Lots of glue, lots of pressure, maybe even a second layer, sometimes even a third. Just go back and forth and just make it stay the way I want it to stay. You have to be forceful with these very thick calendar cardstock pieces, but I think it's fine. Just have to be patient, you know? All right, I'm gonna put my brush back into the water. I might need more, but I don't know yet, so I'm just making sure and keep it in the water, not to have anything crossed up. And now I'm bringing in my blow dryer. I'm gonna skip this part in the video because it's boring and it's loud and I want to cut out the audio. So I'm also going to take things off camera one by one to glue. So yeah, I'm going to glue, to dry, that is. So I'm just going to dry these and then I'm gonna be back. All right, now this is done. They're dry now. So what I'm going to do, I'm gonna cut the excess of my collage bits before I go to the next step, which is painting in the scenery with acrylic paint. And I'm using Deco Art paint. It is a very chalky acrylic paint that will let me go on top with colored pencils to put in details, which is a nice thing. And that way I save a lot of time and trouble with, let's say, the more delicate things or the glows or something in the sceneries. Now, clean off my desk. All right, so the sceneries are as goes. I decided while I was drying these that I wouldn't go for a buoy, but for icebergs. So these are definitely ocean pictures. This one is going to be a bird's nest, and then there's, well, dies in there. This one is the moon, and he's staring at the moon, so this is going to be a night scene. And this one is going to be an ocean scene as well, or there's going to be algae or whatever there in the back. So 3 water, 1 bird, 1 night. I do have these sets here. 2 of those. They are pretty much all of those colors here. They're like test my colors kind of a set. I don't know. By Deco Art Americana, and this is what I'm going to use. So I'm going to put the little pots next to me, and I will have all the colors that I used. I will have them on the block again, like I said. Do have brushes next to me as well, so I'm just using simple acrylic paint brushes, nothing fancy. A little bit of water. Now I have to choose my colors. So the 3 ocean bits, I want to have the blue harbor and the ocean blue, maybe. Do I want 2 blue? I want to have a sky as well. Ocean blue. Let's get the ocean blue. That would be this one. This is very blue. Maybe a bit more of a grayish blue. The Blue Harbor, this one here. This is definitely going to be my ocean blue, and I'm going to mix it in with a bit of white for the sky. Excuse me. So I'm going to start with that. Blue Harbor. Let's get a brush. Small brush. Angle brush, maybe? No. No, it should be fine. Just a flat brush, number 6. So I'm going to dip into my paint. And this is where the horizon line is. So I'm just solidly filling in the gaps in between. Maybe I need a smaller brush. It looks like it. So let's get a smaller brush. Things you learn. So I'm taking a round 4 brush. So I have to fill in this bit of a thing here. So I'm also going on top of my dye here, because this is where the waterline is, and this is where I'm going to have some waves, some white later on. There's also going to be waves, so I need to have acrylic paint underneath so that I can work with the colored pencils on top. So I need to paint over the boat a bit. Painting straight lines is really difficult for me. Same with drawing too. I'm really bad with straight lines. Also cutting and straight lines. No, not my forte. So I'm pretty much just base coating this here. And like I said earlier, this paint dries with a chalky finish, so I can put colored pencils on top, which is kind of nice. Let's have this dry for a bit and paint in the other scene where the horizon line is going to be here. And I think this Blue Harbor here is the perfect tone, because it is a cooler blue, and icebergs usually are quite up north or very much in the south, so North Pole, South Pole areas. And especially with the northern sky, I know that we have quite the cold tint of blue when it comes to the surroundings there. Right. Painting a bit over the boat again so that I can have the color pencil on top. Now, oh, I just saw that I forgot one. I thought it was already time for the sky, but it's not. So let me bring this brush back and have all the surroundings here. Well, most of them at least. I'm gonna have the dye grounded on some maybe yellow ochre sand kind of a thing. That's why I'm not painting to the bottom. The good thing with these cardstock pieces here is that they're quite raised, so I can easily paint around and not paint over my focal point, because my brush pretty much wants to stop right there where it's supposed to stop. That's good. All right, let's ground you on this side as well. There we go. But now I can, you know, I can actually go in with the blue paint still on my brush and just add some white here, because I want a lighter sky. So there's the white, and I can mix the two, and that should work rather well, I think. Yeah, like that color. So let's paint this in. Yep, not too shabby. Number 1. You can sit to dry, and this paint really dries rather fast, so maybe I don't even have to apply my blow dryer to dry things off once I have all of my painting done, also with the other cards here. Who knows? Iceberg. There we go. Now I can work on the octopus. I need bit of a let me arrange this. I actually like the spicy mustard, so I'm going to take that. But I have to clean my brush very well first. There we go. Going in for the spicy mustard, and I'm going to paint in the sand here in this fishbowl or whatever. Same for this side here. Going over it a bit because there's going to be sand piled onto the edges of the die. There we go. Number 3. Now for this one here, I'm just gonna take solid black. I think I want the bird's nest to be done next. And for that I want to have espresso and honey brown. And espresso and honey brown are these two. Going to start with the honey brown, which is the lighter color. I'm just going to have the outlines of the nest here. Could actually use the other brush just to make things a bit faster. Because it's going to be a solid honey brown here. And then I can go in with the espresso, which is the darker color. Have things here darkened a bit. Also here. Quickly need to apply a bit of heat to this one. Because it was very wet and I don't want to wait forever to apply a bit of the dark brown here. There's also going to be some twigs here that just go something like this. And I have to paint them in with the acrylic paint before I can go on top with the colored pencils, so I have to do that now. And then for the octopod, I want a bit of a algae green there. I think I want foliage green, which is this one here. And I'm going to use the same for this background here as well. So I'm just going to put in some leaves of an algae. something like that. And here I'm going to take a bit of the pure green, not too much though, because I want this to be pretty much the very blurry background, and I still have white on my palette, so I'm going to bring in some white, mix that in. Something like that. Now for the final background, I'm going to take the black and just give this a gray and black background. And let's start with the black. So around the moon I go with a solid black. I will have kind of like a glow on top with colored pencil. But around the meeple, going to go towards a bit of a gray, because there's maybe a bit of a reflection there, or well, the moonlight shines towards the meeple here, so there will be a bit of a light around it. So I'm taking some white onto my brush as well, mixing it to a gray. I'm going in with white there, because this is where the light will hit, but I'm using the gray pretty much as my base coat there to put on some white acrylic, not white acrylic, some white pencil. Okay. All right, enough of the acrylic paint. I can put that to the side. I'm going to dry this off, and I will clean my palette and everything, and then I will be back for the pencil for the last little bit. Okay, I zoomed you in quite a bit because now I'm working on the final details here of these art cards. And I'm gonna start with the ocean things. I will use a lot of the Luminance, Caran d'Ache Luminance White, because I find that to be working really well on top of the acrylic paint. But I will maybe also use a bit of a dark blue for this. So let's take a Faber-Castell classic color dark blue. They are the cheap wax-based pencils, and they don't have any specific names or anything. but I really like to use those for having my details here on top. So just having the waves and such. Bit here as well on the boat. Going in with my light first. Am I in the screen? Yes, I am. To make sure when I'm zoomed in so much that I'm actually in screen. And then I go in between those white lines with my dark blue and hype up the contrast a bit. Same here. Maybe I want to have a bit of a black too. We'll see. Yeah, black sounds like a good idea, so I'm taking a little bit here. And of course there's gonna be a bird, because birds are awesome. It's gonna be 1, 2, 3, because things in clusters just make me happy. There we go. Number 1, same for this piece here. So I'm cleaning up the edge. And few of the waves here behind the boat. Then and again, I'm a fan of the bird thing. Okay. We can move on to the nest, and for that I need a very dark brown. Going with a warm one and a cool one. And I'm also gonna need the black, but let's start with the black maybe. So I'm just adding a few lines to indicate that this is all the little twigs and such of the nest. Going in with the darkest color first. Especially here at the edges, and then I bring in the two dark browns. And then I need a bit of a yellow ochre to have highlights, and they are going here, here, and on the top of these curves. Maybe I need a bit of white. For these bigger twigs. And I want a little bit of the green for the background, just some leaves here and there in the blur. Just towards the dice, not so much at the top of the card. And with these few squiggles here, I still have the look of the background being very blurry and very out of focus. All right. Emphasizing some of the edges here of the dice. There we go. Number 4 is the octopus. Going in with the dark green first and working on the algae here. Just shading those leaves a little bit. And the same goes also for this part here. And I'm taking the warm yellowish tinted brown and add in some squiggles here. Maybe a bit of a darker tone here in the back. And then I will have some bubbles. Very thin ones only. There we go. And last but not least, the night scene. And for that I have to add a bit of a glow around the moon. And I'm using a very light touch to apply the colored pencil here on top of the acrylic paint. This is where the meeple is illuminated from the light of the moon, so I'm just going over the gray solid with my colored pencil, and that will just make it white. And glow here. Want to introduce a little bit of a light blue, but a cold one. No warm tone. So maybe you. Yeah. Kinda working. And then I will need a bit of a gel pen for the high highlights here. Of the meeple. And also a couple of stars. Maybe even a shooting star. And I think I can also add a little bit of gel pen here on a few of the air bubbles. And I think that is that. Now the only thing to do is to sign my pieces. Let me get some ink. Since I kept the bag quite clean, I could actually stamp this on the back, but I have to zoom you out. Hold on. There we go. And these are the board game cards that I'm going to send. I hope you enjoyed watching along. If you have any questions or comments, as per usual, leave them in the comment section below. I will make sure that I come back to you as quickly as possible. And I will see you next week on a new art day. I don't know yet what I want to do, but maybe I want to... I think until then the new art box will be delivered, so I will probably play with the art box, the November art box. We'll see. But that concludes the Random Act of Kindness project for November. And then it's only one more month to go for this year. I can't believe how fast it went. But well, thank you for watching. Subscribe if you're new and you want to see more art videos or board game videos. And yeah, the blog post is up by now, so enjoy reading up on all the things that I used in case you find a combo here that you really like and you want to apply in your own artwork. Take good care, have fun, have a wonderful day, a great week, and do something for yourself that pampers your soul. Take good care. Bye bye.